Welcome to Cooking from the Cave. I'm Chef Pete Chrzak, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make some egg rolls. These are pork filled with some nice vegetables as well as a great sweet and sour dipping sauce. So let's get started. It's one of my favorite recipes, one because everybody in my family loves it, from my son to me and my wife. Start off by cooking the pork. The pork's going to get some interesting spices in it. You can mix these up, but this is what I use. I use wasabi, some chili powder, some herbs of Provence, some cinnamon, and some freshly grated garlic, as well as freshly grated ginger, as well as 2 cloves of garlic. I start off with a pan, not a lot of heat on it, just low heat right now, because we don't want to brown the pork, but we do want to cook it. So nice flat bottom skillet, a little bit of oil in there. We're going to add a quarter sliced up onions. This is 1 pound of ground pork. And believe it or not, I just go ahead and I add the dried herbs right to this, as well as the ginger and the garlic. So it's a real simple first step to this great tasting recipe. Put the garlic in there as well. And I just kind of let the heat do all the work. I just stir this around periodically. I'm going to let everything slowly cook, brown up nicely. A little color's not bad, we just don't want to see any black. So let this cook now for, I don't know, maybe about 5 minutes. We'll have cooked pork, and we'll come back and we'll make our sauce. The next step, while the pork is cooking, we can begin our sauce. Our sauce is going to be a third of a cup of sweetened soy sauce, and this is the brand you want to look for. When you go and you're at the Asian grocery store, or maybe even some of your higher-end grocery stores or ethnic grocery stores, just look for the soy sauce and kind of hold it up to the light and make sure that it's thick. It's going to look like maple syrup in the bottle. We're going to pour in 1/3 of a cup. The reason why we're using this sweetened soy sauce is because we don't want to have to add, extra brown sugar or sugar to this. This is already sweet enough. It's kind of helping us with the whole cooking process. We don't have to add an extra ingredient. We do want to add some dried ingredients. The dried ingredients we're going to add is turmeric, some paprika, as well as garlic powder. We're going to sprinkle that into our soy sauce. We're going to add 1/3 of a cup of Heinz 57 ketchup. And then 1/3 of a cup of rice wine vinegar. It sounds weird, but just give it some time and this is going to taste really great. The next step is to bring it up to a boil as quickly as possible. And stir it as you're bringing it up to a boil, because you don't want the dried spices to be resting on top of that thick soy sauce and never really incorporating into the other stuff, even though you say, well, if it boils, it's going to really move stuff around. No, it still has a tendency to kind of cook the dried spices and not incorporate it into the sauce. So give us a few more whisks. I don't see any more lumps with the dried spices, so we're good. Now we can go ahead, let that come up to a boil, and I'll show you the next step. That is making a slurry. A slurry is a combination of cornstarch and a liquid. Typically we use water in restaurants, or maybe in some recipes you'll see you use water and cornstarch to make a slurry. We're going to use orange juice in this because we're going to incorporate orange juice into this recipe already. As I'm speaking, my sauce comes up to a boil. As soon as it comes up to a boil, bring it down to a very low simmer, because we don't want it to thicken anymore. And I'll show you how to make that slurry. Cornstarch, just grab a fork. This is 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 2 ounces of orange juice. I'm going to whisk this up. And a word now about all the spices and herbs that we're putting into this dish. If you're worried about anything or you don't have something, find something suitable as a substitute. Maybe you don't have paprika, but you do have chili powder. You could use chili powder in your sauce. My recipes are designed to have a lot of flavor, but you are definitely allowed to substitute. I'm not going to knock on your door and be like, hey, what are you doing? So, substitute as you feel necessary. The other thing is, this is going to teach you a whole nother way of thickening something up. But I haven't added, and with that whole talk on spices and herbs, I haven't added any salt to this yet because, don't forget, we have that soy sauce over here, so there's really no need to add any salt to our pork. But what I'll do is, after that sauce comes up to a boil, that first time, and we bring it down to a simmer, I'm going to take a regular spoonful, it's going to be roughly about an ounce of the soy sauce mixture back here, and I'm going to pour it over the pork. So I just take a regular dinner spoon, maybe 4 turns in there, pour it over the pork, and that's going to be my quote-unquote seasoning or salt for my pork here. I'm going to stir that up. This is really starting to smell great. The pork is turning white. Look for any redness in it. And at this point I don't see any, so I'm just going to wait for the liquid to cook off. The pork's going to develop flavor and we can turn down that heat. Now, I mentioned this slurry here we made with cornstarch and orange juice. Again, you can use any liquid, barring that it's not an alcoholic liquid, because that will not let it thicken properly. Take this slurry and we're going to pour it into our sauce here. You can pour it all into once, or all at once, into your sweet and sour sauce. And you can do this for regular stocks or any real type of, makes a great gravy, but any type of sauce that you want to thicken. Bring it back up to a boil. Once it comes up to a boil, the cornstarch has the natural properties to begin to thicken whatever it is. You may want to continue to stir it, but once it starts to thicken, and you'll notice it, it'll go from being a very loose liquid back here, and it'll start to really tighten up on you. Turn down the heat, cornstarch has worked its magic, and you're going to have a great tasting sauce back here. While I'm doing this, my liquid is almost completely dried up here in my pan. I'm going to go and turn my heat down for my pork so it can begin to cool down. And just a few more stirs here. My sauce is going from a very thin sauce to, I'll show you in a little bit, show you what happens. And we're going to have egg rolls in no time whatsoever. Turn down our heat. Our sauce is starting to tighten up a little bit. And almost pours out now like maple syrup. That's what you're looking for. Let that cool down, and as it cools down, that cornstarch really starts to tighten, but you got to get it up to a boil. Tightens up your sauce into a great dipping sauce. Let's start on the vegetables. The vegetables we're going to be using are bean sprouts, carrots, and I've cut these very thin. It's roughly about 1 large carrot, or a third of a cup of carrots, third a cup of green onions, and I love this because you just mix everything together. It's real simple. 2 jalapeno peppers. I'm using what is known as twisted jalapeno peppers. You can see they don't look exactly like the standard jalapeno we're finding in the grocery store. I got these at the farmer's market downtown Chicago, the Green City Market, and I saw them and I'm like, oh, I gotta try them. They have a great balance of heat as well as sweetness, so look for, if you can, if you're at the farmer's market, twisted jalapenos. So we'll add 2 of those. Cabbage, this is green cabbage. I've sliced this up fairly thin, like we were gonna go make coleslaw. This is a quarter cabbage. So it's not a lot of vegetables, but there's a lot of flavor right there. This is where I'm gonna take a pinch or 2 of salt. Just sprinkle it on top of the vegetables. And the next step with our pork rolls, or I should say our egg rolls, is what have I done with the pork? The pork has been cooling off in the background while I was prepping these vegetables. So everything is kind of a fluid motion running through this recipe. As you're doing the vegetables, you can take the pork, put them into a bowl, let it cool down. You can put it in the fridge if you want to speed up the process. It's cooled down now. It's nice and cooked. The vegetables are prepped. The egg rolls. The egg rolls are going to get deep fried into oil. and I'm using regular canola oil over here, and I've started to heat that up. What happens is the egg rolls, you buy them in these 12 sheets to a packet, and I think that's probably the smallest packet I've actually been able to purchase it at. So this recipe is going to make somewhere between 8 and 12 depending on how much you fill it. So it's almost perfect for, you go to the store, you buy this, you're not going to have a lot of waste on this recipe. You could even just make some straight vegetarian ones, and if you're going to do that, I would take some of that sauce, drizzle that into the center of this egg roll, and then fry it. So let's get going on actually rolling an egg roll. We're only going to do one sheet at a time, and in between each sheet I'm going to lay a damp paper towel on top. And I'll start with my pork. Remember, this is our cooked pork from earlier. Take 2 good spoonfuls of that. We're going to want to stir up or mix our vegetables so you don't get just a big cluster of either carrots or onions or cabbage. Go ahead and put a nice generous helping of the vegetables onto the pork. Again, we already hit it with 2 pinches of salt. We're going to go over it with maybe 1 turn or a turn and a half of the cracked pepper, and we can begin to roll our egg roll. The first thing I do is, and I had my son doing this a couple days ago, we look at it as a baseball diamond, being baseball fans. We bring in our sides, so we bring in third base and first base into the center to meet at the pitcher's mound. We then take home plate, and we're going to take home plate all the way over and pull that into the center. So as I'm telling Ben, my son, I go first and third, then we bring it home, and we roll in to the pitcher's mound, second base. So we have a nice tight little package there. Now, what keeps the package from falling apart? Our egg wash. Our egg wash is very simple. Just a mixture of 1 egg and a little bit of water. It's about a 50-50 ratio. So if you think of a large egg being 2 ounces, I'm going to add 2 ounces of water to this. I don't completely submerge this, and I don't really want it to be too wet because I am going to be deep frying this and I don't want this to explode in my face. We're going to take our egg roll and we're going to test it in our hot oil. If it doesn't start to bubble immediately, we have a problem. Now this one's starting to bubble immediately, so we can go ahead and submerge this all the way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my seal, then I'm going to lay it into that oil first while I'm still holding on to it. And you, of course, can use tongs if you like. And I'm going to, once it completely falls in that oil, I will go ahead and grab the pair of tongs, and I'm going to let this sit under the oil and I'll count to myself about 15 seconds. What happens is the outside of that egg roll gets nice and fried, and if necessary I can roll the egg roll over, brown up the other side, and we'll repeat this process with as many egg rolls as we can make. I'm counting to myself right now. Pull it out, you get a nice caramelization on the egg roll. Little bubbles, that's fine. Shake off any excess oil. And next to my fryer here, I have a broiler pan lid or a sheet tray with paper towels on top. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to collect any excess oil that's going to drain off of it. It'll collect it right onto that sheet tray. So let's go ahead and do another one for you. I'll show you this one more time. We'll take pork, 2 tablespoons, a nice mixture of vegetables, our cracked peppercorns, fold in our edges, and this one's not exactly square, so you sometimes have to kind of make some modifications. Drag in that mixture to the center. Fold it in, it's nice and tight. I'm going to go ahead and just lightly dip that in the egg wash. The egg wash is going to make the egg wrapper a little more pliable. So don't worry if you do tear it, just be careful with it. We're going to then drop this into our oil. And I'm going to kind of focus on, again, where that flap is to make sure that gets sealed up first. And we do want to watch our oil temperature. We don't want to let this get too hot because we don't want them to burn. And remember, all the vegetables in here are cooked, or I'm sorry, all the pork products cooked. The eggs getting cooked once it hits the oil. The vegetables are great if they're still just slightly al dente or just slightly raw. So there's a little bit of a bite back. So we're only going to be frying this for roughly about 1 minute to 2 minutes at most. Get it under the oil. Make sure you hold it down. About 15 seconds. Let him brown up on all the edges. It's okay to peek. Make sure he's getting nice and caramelized. This guy's looking great. We'll let him just sit there, and I'm going to start another one while that guy's cooking and just kind of keep him off to the corner of my eye and watch him. After our egg roll has been dipped in the egg wash, we're going to go ahead and, remember, don't forget, get that flap down in that oil first. That'll seal up for you. And then I immediately grab my pair of tongs, and I'm going to hold that egg roll under the oil for about 15 seconds. Just count to yourself, say the alphabet, whatever you want to do. Yell at the kids, yell at the dogs, whatever it is, and let it pop up. We'll keep each egg roll under that, or in the oil, for roughly about 1.5 minutes, or until you get that nice brownness that you're looking for, like this gorgeous guy right here. Perfect. The other thing, while I was rolling these, my son is yelling at me. He goes, the first and third baseman never go to the pitcher's mound first. It's always the catcher. So listen to Ben. Bring that catcher up first. Then go ahead and do my son's way of doing it. Bring in the first and third baseman. They're talking about getting the pitcher out of the game, especially if you're a Cubs fan. And we'll roll up that to the second baseman. And you got that beautiful egg roll. So however you want to do it, my way, Ben's way, it all works fine. Just make sure you roll it, get it in that egg wash, hold it under the oil for 15 seconds, let it cook in that oil for 1:30. You'll be good to go. Our egg rolls are done. What did I promise you? I promised you 12. I got 12 exactly. I'm that good. So let's go ahead and plate these up. I just have a little bit extra of the vegetables left over, so we can just go ahead and put a few of these on this platter. I don't know what's going to look best, but this is a crowd favorite. So, however you want to plate it up, you have fun with it. Bring some of those vegetables up. Our dipping sauce, you can see how thick that is. I just sliced up on the bias some green onions, very thin for garnish, but these are ready to go. So bring them out to your dinner table, bring them out to your guests, bring them out for the big game even. This is a great football, easy snacking food. You can make them ahead of time, have them roll, put them in the refrigerator, just wrap them up really tight, and then fry them the day of the game or something to that effect. Enjoy. Thank you for watching Cooking Room in the Cave. I hope you really fall in love with these wonderful pork egg rolls, and I will see you real soon.